Welcome back to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. My name is Coach Gino. Alongside is Super Coach Coach Ken. Super Coach, how's it going?
I'm great, Gino. We've been keeping America safe for capitalism the last few weeks, hence the no podcast. We've been in the field with fellow clients, capitalists, etc. Keeping America safe for capitalism is our duty and is our honor for all of you that we associated with. Let's keep America strong.
Yeah, and I'll say that we have run into some fanboys of our podcast, which has been pretty cool too. So that's also why we're here, because they want more. So, Super Coach, we got to give them more.
We got to give them more. That's what it's all about.
Give them more,
Bigger,
right?
better.
That's all about capitalism. More,
bigger, stronger, faster. More.
There you go. There you go. All right. So in our travels, a couple times a certain subject came up around our potential clients, our current clients, around not being normal, mutants. And so it prompted us to, have a discussion about that today. Some people may find it controversial. Others may nod their heads and say, yep, I got that. So, Super Coach.
All right,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's begin to lay the groundwork and lay the table for this particular conversation. It is not necessarily a nice conversation, but yet it will be very, very effective if you choose to latch on and believe the principles that we share. But first and foremost, give a quick example, is the more that you hang out with people who are fit, who eat right, or the more that you literally go to a gym, let's just make believe you just go to the gym and just sit there and watch people work out, an interesting thing will begin to happen. You'll begin to gain a language of understanding of what sets are, what reps are, what weights are, what particular exercises are. Even if your butt never leaves the seat, you will begin to get a flavor of gym culture. Just like if you go to church every day on Sunday and you don't even read the book and you stick one finger in your ear, but yet the other ear is open, you will begin to hear the words of the gospel. Those words will begin to infiltrate your understanding as well as your existence. Now, here's the scary part, even if you don't want to. Okay, right? But once again, even if you don't want to get in better shape, the more that you hang out in the gym, you will get in better shape. Now, let me give you a little bit of a funny story of where I'm going with this. Back in the day, I used to be a very large fan of The Walking Dead. I was a fanboy of The Walking Dead, and I was religiously watching it. But a strange thing was happening that my wife made me aware of. I was stockpiling guns and ammo. And once again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with I'm a big Second Amendment believer, but I was stockpiling guns and ammo. And not only just stockpiling them, having them in the truck, having them accessible, creating evac plans wherever I was. I was getting a little nutty. And also I would look at things differently and I would hear that zombie sound at night. I was prepping for the zombie invasion.
Super Coach, for the audience, so I asked Super Coach for some book recommendations, just some mind candy, nothing hard, nothing. And what do you recommend? A zombie book.
World War Z. It's a great book. Yeah, I was reading those books too. So I began to notice something interesting was infiltrating into my consciousness. Prepping for the zombie invasion. Now, no, but that was unconsciously. Why? Because I was watching The Walking Dead all of the time. And once again, there's nothing wrong with stockpiling guns, ammo, food, prepping, all of that jazz. But I was beginning to notice I was getting a little bit more paranoid because it was seeping in. You see, what you give attention to, you get more of, even if you don't want more of it. Just like I'm sure there's a few psychopaths out there who watch every Friday the 13th. Okay. And once you watch 5 of those in a row, you begin to see Jason Voorhees in different forms and in different areas. So once again, what you pay attention to, you get more of. And what you expose yourself to seeps into your future. Now, we're going to start getting a little bit of scarier here, a little bit of a scarier conversation. And the concept is called what is the general zeitgeist of your existence? Now, zeitgeist is a German word, right? What's the breeze? What's the feel out there? What's the zeitgeist, if you will, of all the things around you are continually and never-endingly influencing you? But the big question becomes, are you aware of it? Are you aware of the influence all around you? Because once you're aware of it, right, now you can do something about it. If you're not aware of it, then you're kind of stuck. Does that make sense? Any comments, questions, epiphanies on that? Or can I
Yeah,
define that
I
further?
think to your point, it could be in either direction, detrimental or it could be positive,
Or beneficial,
right?
right? Once
Oh yeah.
again,
So I'll give you a quick example. The zombie thing's one, but just one of our clients recently said, "Hey, I rucked for the first time the other day. He never did it before, but because he's heard me say I'm going on a ruck, I'm going to go on a ruck." Now all of a sudden he's rucking and he now bought a ruck pack. And I think it's the constant, and he's heard it on our podcast. He's heard us talk about it before. All of a sudden he's rucking. So I think that's like an example of like that constant attention. It comes in front of his view, and all of a sudden he's like, "I'm going to try that too. Let's do that."
correct.
Right?
It seeps in. Just like if your spouse eats very healthy, there's a good chance you're going to eat healthier. You may not eat as healthy as they do, but simply by default or by being there, you will begin to eat healthy.
Or super coach on that other thing. We talk about prioritization. We talk about D activities, D people. If you've got someone who constantly is, you're married and have kids, and this person's single and always drinking and always wanting to go to the bar, probably not the best place. Might be a thing that you catch yourself on and go, whoa, wait a second. Am I getting sucked into that because that's the attention I'm giving it to?
Correct. And you can get sucked in by inadvertence. It works both ways, for good, and it works also for bad. The conversation here is like, all right, let's become more aware. All right, so now let me throw the grenade into the room. Okay, so I'm going to throw the grenade. And here's the grenade. If you're bored, which you're probably not, but if you were, go to the Department of Labor and look at income statistics. So, and figure out what the median income is of the United States. And what you will discover, now median means in the middle, that half is greater, half is smaller, or something like that, right? It's a number that it's not the average, it's the median, okay, right in the middle. If we look at the median income, you will discover it's either $65,000 or $70,000 a year for a family of four. So that's the half is greater, half is smaller. If we begin to do standard deviations, now, once again, I'm not a math guy, so all you math engineers out there, don't yell at me if the numbers are wrong. Figure it out yourselves. This is for informational purposes only. This is not to win an argument. It's to get you to think, which sometimes is hard, and which actually is very hard, because most of you are very busy. Can't think if you're busy. Once again, median, 70 grand. If we go one standard deviation to the right, okay, so it means you're getting more money, probably about $90,000. One standard deviation to the left, what do we say, 70? $50,000. So suddenly what that means is a pretty large chunk of Americans go between $50,000 and $90,000 in income per year. Now, if we go two standard deviations, you go wider. Once again, think of a bell curve, right? Bell curve, spreading. We go two more standard deviations. What did we say? I said 90, go to 110, and go to 20,000. So between $20,000 and $110,000 in income per year is the vast majority of people in the United States make between $20,000 and $110,000 a year. Now, okay, so what? Why does that matter? Now, grasshoppers, I want you to think. Okay, I want you to put on your thinking caps. If the grand market, if the large market is between $20,000 and $110,000 a year, where is all the marketing? Where is all the media? Where is Hollywood aiming its directives? Okay, who is it trying to influence? Well, and what is it trying to do? Well, it's trying to make the most money possible. And what's the largest market? Those between $20,000 and $110,000 a year, which is all pretty good. But here's the scary part. If you make more than $110,000, and many of our clients make multiples,
Much more.
that begins to put you way to the right on the bell curve. So what that means is you're outside of the normal distribution of income. Now, what that also means, it also means you're abnormal. You're Abbie-Normal. You're not normal. You're not wired like everybody else. But yet, you spend the vast majority of your time and attention surrounded by people whose Zeitgeist is between 20 to 110,000. Now, it's a little scary, right? It's the great middle class, middle class values, all that great stuff about middle class. But once again, middle, right? Middle is another word for mediocre, right? Mediocrity, right in the middle. Goldilocks, not too cold, not too hot. Now, once again, this is not necessarily a nice conversation, but it's to get you to think. If you're continually influenced by everything around you and everything that you've surrounded yourself with, and everything is built for this giant market, right? Most individuals in America, 20,000 to 110,000. If we think about the income distribution of the world, it gets even worse. Like the United States is the top 1% of the world. The rest of the world, their whole zeitgeist, their whole philosophy is for the middle.
Mm.
It is not for the unique. It is not for the motive power. Literally, it's not for you. Okay, so once again, if you want to make high levels of income, you got to think about something. Who is influencing your thoughts? What are you watching on television? What are you reading? Who are you hanging out with? Another scary thought for all of you financial advisors out there. I want you to think about your clients. Now, are the clients that you serve predominantly capitalists and business owners, or are they someone else? Now, of course, your top 20 relationships, your top 10, your top 30, whatever they are, more than likely they're business owners, capitalists, movers and shakers. But I would like for you to reflect upon something. How much time do you spend with them? Or maybe you spend the majority of your time in your office surrounded by your staff. How much money does your staff make per year? Once again, this is not a nice conversation. And this is a conversation to get you to think. So it begets a much bigger question. If you're abnormal, you're a mutant, but yet you're surrounded by normal people, guess what you're going to think of yourself? You're going to think that you're normal. You see, a normal person would never have a golf simulator in their office, right? Because that may send a message like, man, golfing is not working. A normal person wouldn't believe that you could work 2 or 3 days a week and still make the same amount of money. That is not normal. A normal person also wouldn't have multiple businesses. And you know what else? A normal person would never have a coach. Like, why would anyone need a coach? Well, no normal person would. But every top performer out there, you'll begin to see a pattern out there for a very simple reason. They're not normal.
Yeah. Nor buying a 2,000 bottle of wine or going on, crazy safaris and spending all kinds of money out there, right? That's not normal.
Or going to Bali. Like, actually, one of my clients went on a yacht to Croatia with like 25 relationships. I was like, that is next level. And his wife was kind of pushing back, like, shouldn't we be doing something else? Like, is this the best use of our time? I'm like, there is, right? Once again, we're surrounded by normal instead of being. Yep.
I was just going to say, so what you're really saying is the way we started this is who are you surrounding yourself with? Who's in front of you? What are you seeing? What are the messages? What are the clues you're picking up? If you're around a lot of normal in the middle people, they may be pulling you down.
Not maybe.
And then, this
It's not maybe.
guilt. Right. Yeah, no, it is, right? They're pulling you down. Then of course you can start feeling guilty because you make so much money and then you feel like you are a little different than them and you want to try to go down to them to fit in kind of thing when really you should be pushing up and getting to people who are like you, who can push you up and raise you up even further.
Right.
Is that what we're really getting at?
I mean, that's where we're getting to is, once again, if you're a lion and you're surrounded by sheep and you grew up with sheep, guess who you think you would be?
Yeah, for sure.
You would be a lion, but you're acting and baying like a sheep. Because once again, consciously and unconsciously, we become the people that we surround ourselves with. There's an old exercise that you do. It's pretty close to true that if you look at the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with and look at what their incomes are and take the average, there's yours. It's a kind of a scary little exercise. Now, is it exactly right? No, but it's kind of scary.
Directly correct.
It's scarily correct. It's scarily close,
Yep.
if you will. So
Yeah.
with all this in mind, and once again, it's this reflection because high performance. Now, here's another interesting thing around high performance. Or if you're making high income, you're making more than $110,000. Okay. Once again, you're not normal. So if you're not normal, that means your behaviors have to be different from the normal people. Like I always say this joke to people, and one day someone will get it. It kind of sounds a little bit fruity, but if you ask a people, if I say, okay, I'm in a room full of top producers or whatever, and I ask just for kicks and giggles, let's talk about your self-concept, like who you believe yourself to be. Now I'm going to give you a strange analogy, but it's to get you to think. And very simply, turn to your partner, or if you're in the car right now or listening to this on the podcast, turn to a stranger and say to them, hey, if you were a vehicle, what kind of vehicle would you be? I know that sounds like a California HR weirdo interview question, but ask yourself, if you were a vehicle, what kind of vehicle would you be? Now, I've asked this conversation before across the nation to many people, especially in Texas, and a standard answer comes if you live in Texas, right? And the standard answer is, oh, I am an F-150 or an F-250 Texas Porsche, etc. Right? I'm an F-150, take a beating, don't even need to change the oil. Now, once again, F-150s, who are F-150s built for? That's a mass product. That's a mass market product. Oh, that's built for people making between 20,000 and 110,000. Well, a little bit more on the upper side of that, if you will, because pickups ain't cheap, if you will. But yet it's a mass market item. So once again, I want you to think, right? F-150s are tough. You can drive over stuff. You put stuff in the back, haul stuff, right? Great utility vehicle. Okay. And once again, you could drive through a field. But if we look at your income, okay, once again, if you're way to the right on the income stream, you're not an F-150. You're making $500,000, $300,000, $250,000. You're not an F-150. You're actually a Ferrari, right? You're a high performer because, once again, by definition, way to the right on the bell curve, you're unique, you're unique. Not many people like you. You're abnormal. Right? You don't see a lot of Ferraris on the road. You see a lot more F-150s, but yet you treat yourself like an F-150, but yet you're a Ferrari. Now, here's an interesting thing about Ferraris. If you've ever driven one, you quickly understand why people wrap them around trees. And because they are massive machine, that is a powerful machine. And if you do bring a Ferrari to the track and you run it around, you got to change the tires, you got to change the oil. High performance requires high maintenance.
Supercoach, I was talking to someone who's into race cars, and we were talking about this, and they're like, yeah, look at during a NASCAR race, how many times they change the tires in that race, right? These cars are going 200 miles an hour around a track over and over again. High performance requires high maintenance. They have to get gassed up every so often and get all 4 new tires changed in split second, and they're off and running again. Otherwise, they're not finishing.
Right. And not only that, they have a pit crew. They got people there. They have head mechanics, chief mechanics, right? They approach their vehicle like a professional. Now, here's another fun thing about Ferraris, and for all you high performers out there, just gets to think. Have you ever seen a dirty Ferrari? Have you ever seen a Ferrari covered in mud? Well, probably not. Makes you wonder, right? Makes you wonder. And if you are a high performing machine, which you are, is your mind clear? Are you doing the things necessary to stay at high levels of performance? So once again, that's one of the reasons why people have coaches, because it's really easy to drift, right? It's really easy to get pulled down because we're surrounded by people who have a different zeitgeist, that what's normal for them is making $90,000 a year or having a 3%, I think they're called COLA raises. I don't even know what that means. Cost of living adjustment, right? There you go. Right. Let's see how out of touch I am these days. Right. And once again, there's nothing wrong with these people. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just to get you to be mindful that those thought patterns, that philosophy is seeping into your skull. And does it serve you? Now, if you're angry at this conversation, great, write us. We can have arguments about it or talk deeper about it. But in reality, this is why we created the C program, or the Slight Edge Accelerator. It was to create a community of people who are achieving stuff, right? It's about creating a community of people who are to the right of the bell curve
Everybody
and who
is up.
understand that they're abnormal. And once again, there's nothing wrong with being abnormal. You just have to embrace it, that you're a high, as the motive power, as a high performing machine, if you will, or individual. You got to be really mindful that you're consciously either getting good gas, that you're working actively on maintenance, or you're actively working on recovery, as well as keeping your mind right. Because good news, I don't know if this is good news or this is bad news. I think it's bad news. Here's the bad news. There's not a lot of capitalists out there. There's not a lot of people who are the motive power. As a matter of fact, it is rare to make more than 110, $150,000 a year. All of those things rare. And the reason why it's rare, it's because it's a unique skill set. It's a unique, once again, see, and that's the hard part about the normal part. You think you're normal. You can walk into a room and close a $2 million deal, a $5 million deal. That skill set is not normal. Just like it's not normal to be able to run a shop or run an office or to have 5 people directly reporting to you and have 200 clients, 500 clients. It's like a CEO skill set is rare. That's why CEOs get paid so much money. It's not because of greed or other shim sham wimmy whams. It's because skill set is rare. Tom Brady got paid so much money because few people on the planet could do what Tom Brady does. Same thing with an Elon Musk. Same thing with $1 million producer. It's a rare skill set. Now, the really cool part is once you get that it is a rare skill set and that you are a special snowflake, we can really enhance you and bring you to the next level.
That's where we come in. It's we get you, we make sure we check your thinking, right? We help you with, are you moving down and thinking like a normal person, or are we having you think like the capitalist that you should be? And if anything, we make sure you remember what needs to be remembered when it comes to you being Abbie-Normal. And what does that mean, and how do you need to execute and operate as that person? We help keep you up above amidst all the normal people, right?
Correct. Keep you in a conversation that serves you. See, this once again, this idea that structure sets you free. And so when we can either talk about it with the C is the structure that sets you free, or individual coaching is the structure that sets you free, because all of those things help you remember what needs to be remembered, right? And part of that is, yes, it is possible to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, or times 10 your income. Not easy, but it is possible. But when you're around other people who also believe it's possible, you have support, you have shared conversation, there's resources, there's networks that become available to you. When you're around people who don't believe it's possible or whose mind doesn't even enter that arena, you're now playing at disadvantage.
Just to be clear with people, so the C, the Slight Edge Accelerator, is a program we offer. Go to our website, gettingresultsinc.com. You can go under our programs or events, and you'll be able to read up more about it. It's a fantastic program where you and other like-minded individuals who are also Abbie-Normal have a community that we do some classroom, we do some intellectual, we do some physical activities to really make sure that everyone is performing at a high level, getting the maintenance they need to keep performing at a high level. So definitely check that out. And it's one of the things that we've recently offered, because not everyone may do one-on-one coaching, or they may do both, or this might be the introduction to one-on-one coaching is to do a Slight Edge Accelerator program. So I just wanted to make sure any new listeners or listeners that aren't as familiar with that program, I want to make sure they understand that.
Bingo. And people sometimes say, well, Ken, you guys are just doing this, you're just trying to market, you're just putting people in it. Yes, of course we're capitalists, but what we do is noble and right. And more importantly, shit works.
It
Right?
works.
Because the hard truth is it's easy to drift. especially if you're surrounded by mediocre people. Right now, like fascinating thing, like just last night I was watching the baseball game, and I haven't watched baseball at all this year, but the Red Sox and the Yankees, old school rivalries. But it's amazing just watching the games a little bit on how much memories that brings back about baseball and about going to games. And suddenly, like becoming a Tampa Bay fan becomes a probability, not a probability, a possibility. Okay. About beginning, like just because I was exposed to it. Now, that's a very interesting thing. All of you just think about, why do companies advertise? You all know what Coca-Cola is. We all know what Budweiser is, but yet they continue to advertise all of the time. Well, why? Well, they're trying to get you to give more attention, to help you remember what needs to be remembered. So if you want to go black belt level on this, think about for yourselves, what do you need to remember that needs to be remembered? Maybe that you're a Ferrari. And one of the ways to remember that you're a Ferrari is the C program, or structures that bring you back into the conversation, because the world out there wants to pull you out of that conversation. It wants to pull you into their conversations, that life is hard, that price is too much, that you have to grind off your face for work, that work isn't fun, that work is a have to instead of a choose to.
So I think we hit this pretty well. Any other thoughts around this conversation before we close out our podcast today?
Dare to be different, right? Dare to be different. Do the things that most people, or most normal people, wouldn't do. Right. And that's the key to elevating yourself, because it's really easy not only get distracted, but to start watching Netflix for hours on end, or start watching baseball for hours on end. And you forget about your potential, or about what's possible. What are the structures that you have in your world that call forth your potential? And do you, or is somebody else guiding you, or somebody else putting treats out there in front of you, or carrots,
Mm.
and you're not really thinking, you're just going after the treat because somebody put it out there. like like once again, high performance requires high maintenance. Is your business by design, or are you living a business by default?
Grab a piece of paper and a pen, tell the truth, and do an inventory. Are you drifting on things that you might not really be wanting to drift to and you weren't realizing it? I think it's happened to all of us, right? I've drifted on getting caught up in TV too much, or drifted in eating some of the wrong foods, and getting that to be a habit, and then catching it, right, and coming back. So what are you drifting on? And by the way, if you have a coach, talk to your coach about that so we can help you remember what needs to be remembered. If you don't have a coach, maybe you should consider it, or find some people who can lift you up and call you on it and help you with it.
Because once again, it's easy to drift, and what your coach does, or what our programs do, is just simply help you get back on course. You hear us say it 50,000 times, we'll say it again. To remember what needs to be remembered. Okay. And there's so much value in that. If you go to church every day, or excuse me, if you go to church every Sunday, they keep reading for the same book. It's for a reason, right? Why do we have to keep reading from the same book? We should know this already. No, you don't. It's that structure that sets you free. Right. And now, once again, just imagine you're around people who are up to stuff on a consistent basis, that challenge each other, that call forth your potential, that allow you to be the Ferrari that you are.
Right on. Awesome, Super Coach. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please like us, forward us to some peers and friends, share us. We're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, on our site, gettingresultsinc.com. Until our next episode, be great.